The Last Letter of Liberty Hill, Part 3, The Agents from Washington. The first thing Eleanor heard was the drumming of hooves on wet earth. By the time she reached the porch, two riders were already crossing the square, long coats snapping in the wind. They dismounted before the church, their horses steaming in the cool morning air. From her vantage point, she saw the glint of metal badges and the black satchel of government men. Liberty Hill had never seen agents from Washington, and now they had come for her. She slipped the telegram into her apron pocket and stepped into the street. Townsfolk peered from behind curtains. Even the blacksmith stopped his hammer mid-swing. The taller of the two men removed his hat politely. "Mrs. Eleanor Whitfield?" "Yes," she said. "I am Agent Charles Hewitt of the Department of Interior. This is Agent Miles Rook. We are here under Federal Order 207B. I received your telegram." "Then you understand our duty," said Hewitt, his voice courteous but cold. "We're to retrieve all documents, maps, or materials related to an abandoned wartime initiative once operating under the name Project Liberty Hill. You will be properly compensated." Eleanor forced the calm she did not feel. "There is nothing here that belongs to your office anymore." Rook's eyes, sharp and gray, flicked toward the church. "That may not be for you to decide, ma'am." Before she could answer, a familiar voice called from behind. "Gentlemen." James Ashford approached from the edge of the square, mud on his boots, his surveying case over one shoulder. "What business has Washington in a quiet valley town?" Hewitt turned. "And you are who?" "James Ashford, contracted under the U.S. Geological Survey. I report directly to your superiors in the Capitol. You'll find my credentials in order." He produced a folded paper. The agents examined the seal and exchanged a glance. "Mr. Ashford," said Hewitt, tone softening slightly, "then you're aware this region is under review for federal reclamation. We have reason to believe restricted material remains in local possession." Ashford's smile was faint. "Then perhaps we can review the matter together. I've been studying these hills for months." Eleanor caught the hint in his tone. "Stall them." Hewitt nodded once. "Tomorrow morning, then, 9 o'clock. You'll both accompany us for inspection." The men tipped their hats and rode back toward the ridge, leaving a trail of mud and unease behind. That night, the wind rose again, whispering through the eaves. Eleanor paced before the hearth while Ashford unfolded the maps on her table. "They'll find the tunnel. They'll destroy everything Samuel tried to protect." "Not if we move first," he replied. "There must be another way into the caverns. The sketches show a second entry north of the river." She studied the parchment. Indeed, faint lines curved toward a small mark labeled Raven Creek. Ashford packed his compass and lantern. "We leave before dawn. If we can recover whatever Samuel sealed there, we might have proof, something to negotiate with, or to hide again far from here." Eleanor nodded, her fear slowly hardening into resolve. They rode at first light, the valley wrapped in blue mist. Beyond the fields, the ground rose into rocky hills, where the trees grew dense and wild. Raven Creek was a thin silver vein twisting through stone. They followed it until they found, half buried by moss, a collapsed mine entrance. "This must be it," Ashford murmured. He cleared the debris with his shovel until an opening yawned wide enough to crawl through. Inside, the air was colder than before, heavy with the scent of mineral and age. The walls shimmered faintly, flecks of quartz catching the lantern's glow. For an hour, they followed the narrow passage downward until it opened into a vast underground chamber. Here, the carvings were brighter, stars and spirals pulsing with a soft inner light. At the far end stood another stone disk, like the one beneath the church, but this one was cracked through the center, as if struck by lightning from within. On the floor lay a wooden chest, half rotted by time. Eleanor knelt beside it. Inside, wrapped in oilcloth, was a metal cylinder engraved with Samuel's initials. Within the cylinder, maps, measurements, and a small crystal shard glowing faintly blue. Ashford stared. "This isn't of our making. I've seen nothing like it," Eleanor whispered. "He called it a light from before we had names for such things." They exchanged a long look. Then Ashford said quietly, "We can't let the government take this. They'll lock it away or worse." Before Eleanor could answer, the echo of voices reached them from the tunnel mouth. Boots, lanterns, Hewitt and Rook. "They must have followed us," she breathed. Ashford snuffed his light. "Back this way." They slipped behind a stone ridge as the agents entered the chamber. Lantern lights swept across the walls, illuminating the carvings. "My God," Hewitt muttered. "So it's true." Rook lifted his revolver. "Search the perimeter." While they examined the site, Ashford leaned close to Eleanor. "There's another exit. The air current's coming from that crack." They crawled toward the narrow fissure, dragging the cylinder between them. Rocks scraped their coats. Dust choked their lungs. At last, they emerged into the open night above the ravine. The valley spread out below. Behind them, distant shouts echoed from the cave. "Go!" Ashford urged. They ran downhill through the trees until the lights disappeared. They reached Liberty Hill near dawn. The town was still sleeping. Only the church bell stirred. Inside her cottage, Eleanor placed the glowing shard on the table. It pulsed softly, bathing the room in pale light. Ashford watched it, awed. Whatever civilization created that stone understood power in ways we barely dream of. Eleanor gazed at it, thinking of Samuel's final words. They thought they could bury it, but some truths will always rise. "Perhaps," she said quietly, "it was never meant for conquest or science. Perhaps it was meant as a reminder." A knock sounded at the door. Urgent, deliberate. Ashford grabbed the shard and slipped it into his coat. Eleanor opened the door. Agent Hewitt stood there, hat in hand, face streaked with dust. "Mrs. Whitfield," he said evenly, "you were seen near the northern ridge. We'll need you to come with us." She met his eyes. "And if I refuse?" He hesitated. "Then the army will come instead." Ashford stepped forward. "Agent Hewitt, you saw what's in that cave. You know it's no weapon, no threat. If Washington learns, they'll strip this land bare, searching for more." For the first time, something human flickered across the agent's face. "I've seen things down there that make me doubt my own faith, Mr. Ashford. But orders are orders." He turned to leave, then paused. "Be gone from Liberty Hill before nightfall. When the soldiers arrive, they will not ask twice." And he was gone. By sunset, wagons rumbled along the distant road, the first units of federal troops. Smoke from their campfires curled into the darkening sky. Eleanor and Ashford packed what they could: the journal, the cylinder, and the crystal shard now wrapped in Samuel's old scarf. As they saddled the horses, Eleanor looked back at the valley one last time. The church bell rang softly in the wind. "Do you think they'll destroy it?" Ashford tightened the reins. "They'll try, but you can't erase what was never meant to be hidden." They rode toward the mountains, following the starlit trail north. Behind them, Liberty Hill shimmered faintly under the moon, the quiet little town guarding its impossible secret. To be continued. Part 4. The Road to Washington.
Eleanor and Ashford flee across a divided nation, pursued by soldiers and haunted by the mystery of the glowing shard, until history itself begins to repeat the secret Samuel tried to protect.